It's Coke time. Got it all over my fingers. Welcome to the ASTROLABE, everyone. It is Tuesday evening, and all of the things are happening. You might have thought that it was just going to be a push for 1 week, but oh no, we're still going. Not only are we going, we are escalating. It's getting wild now, folks. I almost forgot to pull up a particular... actually, I want to make sure I save this for later. Let me pull that out. There's a specific story that is extremely relevant to us here that I almost neglected to mention in the midst of all of the other things that are happening. Because holy crap. They are really starting to go for the throat of the regime. Now let me get back to this over here. I'm looking for this particular one. Last night, so on the show yesterday, I read you guys the thread from Mike Lee, Senator Mike Lee, sitting Senator Mike Lee, longtime rumored candidate for the Supreme Court. I read you guys that thread about letters of marque and reprisal, talking about privatizing security agencies to start taking on the mass deportation effort, maybe going after the cartels, awarding them a cut of the spoils. I read you guys that thread, and Stormy Waters quote tweeted that thread. He said, sitting U.S. Senator calling for letters of marque and a thread on Twitter. What a time to be alive. There is no more town square, only us in the battle space that we currently dominate with overwhelming force. Total right-wing vanguard victory. HH, hail victory. This is his tweet. And within minutes, he got a response from the man himself. Said, I love your perspective. Look how far we've come. We've got a sitting U.S. Senator replying to one of our guys celebrating that we are now pirates. And he replies to an HH Hail Victory tweet. Now, I went back later and looked, and he deleted this tweet because I'm sure that he just sort of saw, a sitting U.S. Senator calling for letters of marque. Yay, total right-wing vanguard victory. I think he probably missed the HH in there, but we just have to tell him it's Hulk Hogan, right? Shout out to Mr. Hogan. Welcome, boys and girls. We got some girls in here. Do me a favor and hit the like button. We're going to get going. And I'm leaving stories out. I had to pick stories that, I don't know, a couple weeks ago would have been like main, they would have been like gotten themselves in the title of the show. And I've got to leave them out because I just can't hit absolutely everything. There's so many things. People keep telling me that I'm just going to have to do a 24/7 ASTROLABE. And I'll say we'll be doing a 24/7 something. But I can't do a 24/7 ASTROLABE. I mean, I guess I could do anything. Are you guys willing to fund the cost of a 24/7 Astrolabe? If I sit here for 24 hours a day, you're going to have to pay all of my bills in addition to an extra premium to account for the fact that my body would be wasting away. I'm going to need an exceptional amount of caffeine and nicotine. I'm going to need it shipped directly to the door. Are you guys prepared to fund that? Because if you are, maybe we can talk. We'll see. Hailing victory is back on the menu, boys. What's up, Isaac? All right. Usual housekeeping. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you're not. The viewership has ticked back up again recently. I know you guys. I know the evening streams aren't an ideal time, and I'm not planning on doing them this way for forever. But it's just kind of a reality of how life is right now. We're in a transitionary phase, one might say. And so I'm hoping to get back to the midday streams because that timeline works better for a lot of reasons. And I think the viewership kind of tailed off just because it's not an ideal time, but it's been picking back up again. So if there's any of you new ones here, I'm streaming on YouTube and on X for the time being. And so if you're just now tuning in for the first time, make sure that you're subscribed. Make sure you're following me on Twitter @RealKingPilled. You should also join the King Pill Discord. That's the place to be. That's where the conversation's happening. That's where all the good memes are being dropped. It's a great group of people. There's several of them in the chat. I see them right now. So if you guys want to be a part, if you like the vibe of the live chat here, and you want to experience that for more than just the period of time that I'm streaming, then the King Pill Discord is the place to be. Kingpill.com is the place to go. Shout out to QWERTYZZ7. 50 leaf bucks. I didn't even know there were 50 leaf bucks. He says, for the future 24-hour test stream, Hulk Hogan total victory. Oh, okay. Now I might have to do it. I might have to try to do a 24-hour stream. Can you imagine? Pleb Enforcement said, is the show going back to the old time? This is very late for Britbong. Yes, the show is going to go back to the old time here eventually. You guys will have to wait and see when that happens. Thank you for the super chat, man. I very much appreciate it. Let's see other things. There's a Cash App link and a Buy Me a Coffee link in the description if those work better for you. Also, there is a King Pilled Substack, kingpilled.substack.com, or just look for King Pilled on Substack. It's the only one there, and that's where I post these as a backup. It also pushes it out. It's fantastic, brilliant thing that Substack did, where you can just upload the video and it'll automatically pull out the audio track and push it out to all the podcatchers. Just saves so much time, makes it so easy. That's the only reason that this goes out onto the podcatchers. So if you're listening from Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever, whatever second-rate podcatcher you use, then we appreciate you as well. Make sure you subscribe to the show and leave a 5-star rating and review to help out with the algorithm. Get this in front of more people. It is the age of independent media. All right. Let's start with some slop.
Look, I don't like taking jobs from women. But I did, and now I'm rich. We tripled our revenue when we switched from cart girls to cart boys. Transfusions and hot dogs made us money, sure. But bros will take out a loan to get a can of Zyn when they're a little tipsy on the 13th hole.
Oh, yeah.
That Zyn shortage? Oh, do you want one? Yeah, 1 second. We got it all. Under the table bookie services, that slab of drywall you can punch when you're not playing well, and the moneymaker, emergency baby powder. For those bros that accidentally order a big old plate of roasted thighs, if you know what I mean.
Oh.
Holy hell. Yeah, like March of the Penguins out there. Right. Having cart girls never bought me a Cybertruck. Eat ladies.
I don't know what, like, this needs to be an advertisement for something. Like this is brilliant. This is brilliant marketing. And somebody just made this for fun. This needs to be like this is the way advertising is done now. This is the if you want to if you have a product you want to advertise, you do it by making really compelling like TikTok style videos that speak directly to the soul of your target market. I've never felt so seen. The last time I felt this seen was when I was watching JD Vance dunk on some HR mammy. This is, or when I was watching JD Vance walking into the Oval Office, I felt seen at that moment. I feel seen in this moment. She even thinks of the powder, the baby powder for the thighs. Oh man, nothing will ruin a good round than getting halfway through it and you got, oh man, you got to start to chafe and you got to waddle. Oh man, this should have been a Tucker Carlson Alp commercial. Someone hire these people to do advertising for your company. Have you guys heard Tim Dillon's RFK impression? If you haven't, you're about to experience something glorious. He has the best RFK impression.
His wife is Cheryl from Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah, what a combo.
She's awesome and she's really fun, and he's a little more serious because the CIA killed his whole family.
Yeah.
So
Way to bring the energy down, Tim.
Yeah, well, it's just, she's very she'll be like, I love strawberries, and then he's like, there's a bomb in the car. Cheryl, there's a bomb in the car. Cheryl, get in the car. We're gonna die. His wife is Cheryl.
Tim Dillon is fucking brilliant. I'd never really taken him seriously. I've started listening to him more lately, in large part because of Mr. Papal Orthodoxy or Politically Catholic. My good friend Andrew. He sent me a couple of clips of him. He was like, "You should be listening to Tim Dillon," and I started listening to him, and I'd thought of him as being sort of like in the, I don't know, Dave Rubin kind of world, and then it was kind of funny, but I didn't realize he had it in him. He is one of the single funniest comedians alive. All right, you guys ready? You guys ready to vibe? We got a hype video. We got a bunch of these videos today that people have been drowning me in bangers. So we got a bunch of them. This one here, this is a full 3 minutes, but it's worth it.
Does it feel like this now? Does it feel like this now? Everybody wants to be living in a fantasy. Does it feel like this now? Does it feel like this now? Everybody wants to be living in a fantasy. For the night to get here, so you can start the chasing, or something to make you want it. Are you doing it right? Oh, when it pulls you on it. Does it feel like this now? Does it feel like this now?
It toward the hole, Peter backhands from the outfield.
Does it feel like this now? Does it feel like this now? Everybody wants to be living in a fantasy. Oh. I'm still wasting another night.
This just keeps getting better and better.
Nobody to come around. I'm still wasting another night. No one for a light. Nobody to come around. Does it feel like this now? Does it feel like this now? Everybody wants to be living in a fantasy. Does it feel like this now? Does it feel like this now? Everybody wants to be living in a fantasy. Oh, does it feel like this now? Does it feel like
Welcome to the 90s, Donald.
Ah! One might say that we are living in the age of eternal white boy summer. The vibe has shifted. We are going to win. What an absolute banger. I had to make sure, you might have seen that I was copying the link there. I had to make sure that that the cyberbully was aware of that one, because there is spiritual power in that song. All right, we got more. Let's go.
What price do you put on national security? Is that worth it?
Is there a way to carry out mass deportation without separating families?
Of course there is. Families can be deported together. Families can be deported together. Families can be deported together.
Don't you want somebody to love? Don't you need somebody to love? Wouldn't you love somebody to love? You better find somebody to love. Don't you want somebody to love? Don't you need somebody to love? Wouldn't you love somebody to love? You better find somebody to love. Don't you want somebody to love? Don't you need somebody to love? Wouldn't you love somebody to love? You better find somebody to love. Don't you want somebody to love? Don't you want somebody to love?
I'm not exaggerating when I say that U.S. Customs and Border Protection quite literally needs to make this their new, put this shit on the Super Bowl. Give me this as a Super Bowl ad for CBP. Oh, man. I got my dumbass head banging in my car. Friend of the show, Slutty Milk, says, hook me up to an IV of this shit. Oh, imagine if such a thing existed. A 24/7 digital IV, not digital ID, a digital IV, 24/7 digital IV of such things. Imagine if that existed. Here's white people after mass deportations. Just banger after banger. Yeah, Jennifer Connelly. I know my audience. It wasn't an accident. I didn't just do this one for the music. Now look at this one here. Someone made a online political content in 2005 versus 2025. And for the first half of this, when you're seeing the content from 2005, if it has the same effect on you as it did on me, it's going to take you back there. You're going to feel it. You're going to be, oh yeah, 2005. Holy crap. And then try to process the shift from that to 2025. And then imagine, once you've processed that shift, imagine trying to take a video from 2025, this 2025 video, and send it back to the 2005 version of yourself. And tell me what you think you would have done if you had heard it then.
This land is your land. This land is my land. I'm a Texas tiger. You're a liberal wiener.
This genocidal anti-Semitic organization currently in existence.
This land is
Let's play it again.
your land. This This land is my land. I'm a Texas tiger. You're a liberal wiener.
This genocidal anti-Semitic organization currently in existence.
This land is your...
I could just listen to that on repeat for so long. If I was to show that to my parents right now, they would. My parents are young too. They're born in 72 and 68. If I was to show this to them like now, it would probably melt their brains a little bit. I cannot even fathom going back 20 years ago and showing this video to someone. They would have wanted you institutionalized. They would have been like, who created this? What's wrong with them? How did they get out? And now this is just 2025 for you. Oh man. All right. Now I'm going to give a little content warning here. If you're listening, if you have small children listening in right now, you might want to give it about a minute or so. Depends on how you're raising your kids. I know some people are a little choosier about this than others, but I'm mostly putting this in here in case my wife is listening right now, and I know that I would be in big trouble if I didn't give a warning ahead of time. All right, now I've given sufficient warning. A compilation of Trump cursing.
Bullshit. Bullshit. Do you understand? Bullshit. Bullshit. That's a lot of bullshit. Bullshit. Bullshit.
The dumbest son of a bitches in the world, all right?
This son of a bitch. Sleeping son of a bitch, I'll tell you. Who'll get that son of a bitch out? Get that son of a bitch off the field. Son of a bitch. Hey, by the way, folks, if I ever use the F-bomb, I think I'd get the electric chair. Do you agree? Listen, you motherfuckers. Can you imagine if I used the F-bomb? It would be the electric chair, right? You're not going to raise that fucking price. And you can tell them to go themselves. That's when I realized he was a fucking idiot. Over the next 300 fucking years, I'm going to bomb the shit out of him. I would bomb the out of him. Somebody ought to sue his ass off. All right. Kiss my ass. Kiss my ass. Kiss my ass. Kiss my ass. Kiss Barack Obama's ass. You bet your ass up. They don't give a shit. 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 Everything woke turns to shit.
The funniest human being alive, man. I found this one last night. I'd crawled into bed. I was laying there, kind of tucked in under the blankets, half asleep, just doom scrolling. Thumb up, thumb up, thumb up. And I got to this one, and I was in tears, just writhing around on my bed, laughing at it. I think half of it was the delirium of almost being asleep. But he just... simply by existing, he's just incredibly funny. The most R guy of all time. $10 super chat from Samoa Bob, a good IRL friend of mine. He says, I love that the new admin is all media trained to handle these HR bleeding heart reporter harpies. The appeal to humanity and pulling on heartstrings no longer works as a gotcha. Yes, I've got a couple videos of this coming up here a little later. Yeah. One of Stephen Miller with Jake Tapper just dropped right when I'd finished getting everything ready, and I had to go and plug this one in there because it's going to be a long show, but I had to add this clip. And then I saw another super chat come through. Holy crap. 50 more leaf bucks. So I didn't even know if there was 50 leaf bucks, and there's 100? You're telling me there's 100 leaf bucks in existence, and I have all of them? Thank you, Slosher. He says, 2005, I want to look like Brad Pitt in Fight Club. 2025, I want to look like Ed Norton in American History X. Yeah. Every one of us has had the same trajectory. Yeah, they would have put you in a hospital for it in 2005. Okay, let me catch up on the comments here. Imagine telling George Washington Trump is our president. Then imagine telling Andrew Jackson. Yeah. I think they would actually probably be impressed once they got to know him. All right. These ICE videos. So apparently there's a thing called Hispanic Tik Tok, and all of Hispanic TikTok, as my little minions are reporting into me. I don't really keep up with Hispanic TikTok, but my little minions report back to me, and apparently this is all the rage. All the Hispanic TikTokers are getting in on this trend. So this guy here says ICE came knocking at his door.
Yeah, hello?
This is an officer with ICE doing a routine check.
Well, I'm an American citizen.
Well, we have questions that'll determine that answer.
Okay.
How many points are scored in a football game?
6.
We want to make America
great again.
Who's the best female artist?
Taylor Swift.
All right, last question. Can you say Walmart? Sir, can you say Walmart?
Yes, I know. Walmart.
All right. I don't care what this guy's actual immigration status is. He gets a free year on me. Just for that. That's just for that. We can keep him for at least a year. I mean, you guys with me on this? I think he's earned at least a year with that one. I hope Samoa Bob is still in here, because that one will resonate. Okay, a little more Tom Homan stuff here. Hulk Homan, I saw someone say in the chat. Watch Martha Raditz's face as Homan calmly, flatly explains that the deportations will be increasing over time.
I want to go back to those military flights going south. As you said, we have never seen that before. Is that going to be a constant commitment from the U.S. military every single day to take deportees out?
Yes.
So is this what we will see every single day, ending in what the president has promised is millions and millions being deported?
Yes. But you're going to see the numbers steadily increase, the number of arrests nationwide, as we open up the aperture. Right now it's concentrating on public safety threats, national security threats. That's a smaller population. So we're going to do this on priority base, as President Trump's promised, but as that aperture opens, there'll be more arrests nationwide.
When you talk about the aperture opening, the estimates of perhaps those who have been convicted or arrested in the past, 700,000 to over 1 million. So after you do that, then you go after everybody who is there illegally.
If you're in the country illegally, you're on the table, because it's not okay to violate laws of this country. You got to remember, every time you enter this country illegally, you violated a crime under Title 8, United States Code 1325. It's a crime. So if you're in the country illegally, you got a problem. And that's why I'm hoping those who are in the country illegally, who have not been ordered removed by the federal judge, should leave.
Tom Homan has powerful medieval yeoman farmer physiognomy. This is the man who used to grab ruffians by the backs of their shirts and throw them into the pig pen because they were talking too bawdy in the tavern, where he was trying to eat a roast chicken and a block of cheese. Nailed it. That is him. Here's another one from Powerful Mutual, Vagrant of Rhodes. Homan has very strong, trusted skull crusher physiognomy. Type of guy who would save the king's life from nefarious plots, then flush out the conspirators because it was offensive to him. Would take down a Roman general with his bare hands in the bogs of Northumberland. Would be the first guy out of the landing craft at Normandy. Would hold off a Viking raid on a small fishing village in Essex with nothing but a pitchfork while the peasants escaped to the Lord's castle. Would march 100 miles through rough terrain without rest to reach a fort in the colonies to relieve a siege by the natives. I trust him with my life without question on this alone. One Tom Homan would surely be enough for most situations, but I'd gladly take a whole army of Tom Homans if I could. Give this guy total control of the border and a blank check. If you guys have seen The King, it's a very good analogy. Tom Homan must be granted unlimited resources and jurisdiction to carry out his mandate. And indeed he is. So here is from Chicago. The White House announces all illegals in America now have a criminal record because invading is a crime. I don't know if you guys appreciate just how big of a deal this small thing is. They've changed the conversation legally speaking, from rounding up non-offending persons to literally just collecting criminals. So now if you want to argue that they're here, officially your position you're going to have to argue is that people who are criminals should not be punished for being criminals. Crime should be legal. Chicago, Illinois resident reporting ICE agents with police officers are going door to door for immigration raids. Chirp. I saw someone say that there's some big booty Latina, some gordita hiding in an attic somewhere. Tom Homan's gonna find her. Also in Miami, ICE is now raiding residential homes. I cannot stress this enough. This is from Wall Street Apes. I cannot stress this enough. Self-deport if you are an illegal in the United States. If ICE finds you, you will have a 20-year ban on all visas. This means work visas, tourist visas, business visas, visitor visas, etc. Self-deport. Anybody who's talking to you about their actual deportation numbers, you're talking to a black pillar. If they're comparing actual deportation numbers to, say, Obama's deportation numbers, which right now, a week in, they're on a day-by-day basis, they're lower. But they don't have to be even. The push that they're putting into this, people are self-deporting very rapidly. I can't wait till we start seeing the sorts of numbers of people who are self-deporting for precisely these reasons. And this is just, there wasn't much to this video. Just the number of people, the number of officers' vehicles that are there. This isn't like some fringe effort of some little hub within the federal government. Every single one of these enforcement agencies is on a full go. You're hiding big booty Latinas under the floorboards, aren't you? Vorpal Anvil, yes, I hope you don't find that surprising. That should not at all be surprising to you. If you know who they are, it should not at all be surprising to you that is the posture that they're taking. We've got a Newsmax reporter who is, what do they say, living his best life? Casually eating tacos live on TV while talking about deporting illegal immigrants.
No tacos, no enchiladas, none of that for you.
Oh, yeah? What are you going to do? You going to come take it out of my ham? I'm going to eat half this plate during the break. Maybe I'll call the ICE hotline. I don't know if I'll have enough time. Sure. All kidding aside, it was actually really good taco. These people broke the law. They broke the law to get here. And once they were here, they broke the law again. It was just serious crimes, folks. These are not like shoplifting. That's why they got to go.
No tacos.
So, you know, like this sort of woman here, she says, or all the other libs who are like, no, we need all of the immigrants. We need all of them in here because look at the great food that they bring. Well, guess what? With Tom Homan in charge, we're going to get the good food. We're going to keep the food. They're going to go. We're going to keep the food. We're going to sit here and we're going to eat our tacos on TV right in your face. I don't know who this guy is, Carl Higbee, but I like him. Navy SEAL. Yes, of course he's a Navy SEAL. Let's see that one more time.
Tacos, no enchiladas, none of that for you.
Oh, yeah? What are you going to do? You going to come take it out of my ham? I'm going to eat half this plate during the break.
What are you going to do? All right, here it is. This is a murder on live TV from Benny Johnson. He says, I give you White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller versus Jake Tapper on CNN. You're about to see Jake Tapper's face just liquefy and fall off. Tapper said we need illegals here to pick our crops, then fatality.
A question about, because one of the reasons that President Trump got elected according to President Trump in an interview, I think it was with Kristen Welker of NBC, was because of grocery prices. Not the only reason, but a reason, high prices, inflation, especially at the grocery. The Department of Agriculture says that between 2020 and 2022, 42% of crop workers were undocumented immigrants. And in many cases, as you know, these migrants do jobs many Americans do not want to do. So, how does President Trump make sure that the effort to deport people who are not in this country legally doesn't end up hurting Americans who want safe borders? Absolutely.
Watch Stephen Miller's face. It's like an android that's loading up. You can see it. You can see it coming.
But also don't want to see even more higher prices in groceries.
Well, I mean, I'm sure it's not your position, Jake, you're just asking the question, that we should supply America's food with exploitative illegal alien labor. I obviously don't think that's what you're implying. Only 1% of alien workers in the entire country work in agriculture. The top destination for illegal aliens are large cities like New York, like Los Angeles, and small industrial towns, of course, all across the heartland, as we've seen with the Biden floods. None of those illegal aliens are doing farm work. Those 30,000 illegal aliens that Joe Biden dumped into Springfield.
I'm talking about the ones that are.
But I'm explaining this. It's important to understand.
No, you're kind of changing the subject. I mean, I'm talking about the ones.
I will give me 30 minutes. I'll go as deep as you want this.
We don't have 30
audience.
I don't have a third. I'm talking about the ones that could
Autism rising.
I'm
you can
explaining
come back
to you
and
and
we
your
can talk
audience.
about the ones in the cities. I swear.
I'll do the whole answer. The illegal aliens that Joe Biden brought into our country are not full stop doing farm work. They are not. The illegal aliens he brought in from Venezuela, from Haiti, from Nicaragua, they are not doing farm work. They are in our cities collecting welfare. As for the farmers, there is a guest worker program that President Trump supports. Over time as well, we will transition into automation, so we'll never have to have this conversation ever again. But there's no universe in which this nation is going to allow the previous president to flood our nation with millions and millions of illegal aliens who just get to stay here. And we are especially not going to allow a subset of those illegal aliens to rape and murder our citizens. So we are going to unapologetically enforce our immigration laws, and as I'm sure you will celebrate, we are going to unleash the power and might of the U.S. government to eradicate the presence of transnational threats on our soil.
So,
oh my God, that had to have felt so good. I propose that we take Stephen Miller and Jake Tapper and lock them in a room together and give Stephen Miller everything he needs, all the supplies that he needs, to tie Jake Tapper to a chair, prop open his eyes, and force him to listen to Stephen Miller go into excruciating detail on every last component of this, because you know that Stephen Miller has it right up there and he's going to access it in a moment. And he could go into the depths of autism, delineating every last little bit of this. And we're going to make Jake Tapper do this for hours and hours and hours. Stephen Miller's not going to run out of energy. He's doing what he loves. He gets to lambaste a stooge of the regime with immigration facts. He would do it for free. We don't even have to pay him. Just give him, I don't know, bagels and coffee. Okay. Congressman has introduced a bill to exclude illegal immigrants from Medicaid. Isn't it insane that we actually have to have a bill like this? This is from John Solomon. We actually have to have a bill to explicitly exclude illegal immigrants from Medicaid. This common sense legislation ensures that taxpayer-funded healthcare benefits are preserved for those who lawfully qualify, prioritizing the needs of American citizens and legal residents while promoting fairness and fiscal responsibility. Congressman Kevin Kiley, a Republican from California, has introduced a bill that would prevent states such as Medicaid from allowing illegal immigrants to enroll in Medicaid. Kiley estimates this would save California $6.5 billion per year. $6.5 billion. In January of 2024, the state expanded Medicaid enrollment to include all illegal immigrants. Kylie also noted that many Americans enrolled in Medicaid, a taxpayer-funded public health care system for low-income individuals, are already struggling to find doctors. California is spending $6.5 billion each year providing free health care to everyone here illegally. Meanwhile, many of our own citizens can't even get in to see a doctor. California, which has sanctuary state laws limiting state and local law enforcement agencies from actively assisting federal immigration officials, is currently in a special session called by Governor Gavin Newsom to Trump-proof the state, chiefly by providing $25 million for state and local lawsuits against the Trump administration, and another $25 million for legal aid, largely for deportation defense. $50 million for the state to sue the federal government, and $25 million for legal aid for illegal immigrants. I mean, this is pretty damn close to just like cut and dry treason. The Trump administration has already signaled that any state employing sanctuary state laws and trying to limit state and local law enforcement agencies from actively assisting federal immigration officials is going to be up for civil, if not legal, penalties. Imagine if we get to live in the timeline where they send Tom Homan in to arrest Gavin Newsom and perp walk the motherfucker. Imagine if we couldn't be that lucky, could we? Like, it couldn't actually happen. There's no way. There's no way we would actually get to live in the world where Gavin Newsom gets perp walked. But maybe. California is home to approximately 2.7 million illegal immigrants. 2.7 million illegal immigrants. And I don't trust these numbers at all, and if anything, I'd expect they would undercount them. Do you realize how many... Let's ask Grok this question, because I think that'll be the most straightforward way to get an answer. How many U.S. states have fewer than 2.7 million residents? 7 U.S. states have fewer than 2.7 million residents. These states are Wyoming, Vermont, Alaska, North Dakota, South Dakota, Delaware, and Rhode Island. So California has, in illegal immigrants, more than the entire population of 7 states. Just absolute madness. Okay. This here is... Okay, I already opened that. So we got to see for the first time today our new press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, where she delineated this new administration policy on illegals. Before I hit play on this, I would just note, what do you see very prominently displayed? Right in the middle of the picture there.
Caroline, on immigration. Of the 3,500 arrests ICE has made so far since President Trump came back into office, can you just tell us the numbers? How many have a criminal record versus those who are just in the country illegally?
All of them, because they illegally broke our nation's laws and therefore they are criminals as far as this administration goes. I know the last administration didn't see it that way, so it's a big culture shift in our nation to view someone who breaks our immigration laws as a criminal, but that's exactly what they are.
You may have one with the worst first. They all have a criminal record.
And welcome to the briefing. If they broke our nation's laws, yes, they are criminal. Yes.
Thank you.
We are back to the world of beautiful blonde women dunking on the press in the briefing room. We don't have to listen to that. I think I almost managed to make it the entire term of all of Biden's term in office not listening to his press secretaries, never having to actually hear his press secretaries, especially the complete illiterate at the end. So here's another one. Here's some big news. This is something that yours truly has been advocating for a little while. That if they're real serious about this, and obviously at this point they are, I could never have imagined it was going to get to this point, but them being real serious about this whole tearing down all the operations of the regime, a big one is ensuring that they cannot disseminate their messages effectively anymore and humiliate them, block them out, don't give them status anymore, don't give them their little their little info access hierarchies that they use to abuse the rest of us. Start amplifying, and I don't even care. I don't even care if it's I don't care if it's Barry Weiss or Ben Shapiro or whoever. Just the Tim Pool, whatever. Just all the so-called alt media. Start promoting them. And do it because specifically, you now get to control their access explicitly. You are the one who granted it. You can take it away at any time. And you can use them selectively. And this is the absolute definition of controlled opposition.
This White House believes strongly in the First Amendment, so it's why our team will work diligently to restore the press passes of the 440 journalists whose passes were wrongly revoked by the previous administration. We're also opening up this briefing room to new media voices who produce news-related content and whose outlet is not already represented by one of the seats in this room. We welcome independent journalists, podcasters, social media influencers, and content creators to apply for credentials to cover this White House. And you can apply now on our new website, whitehouse.gov/new media.
whitehouse.gov/new media. This is where you apply. If you want to apply for a press corps credential. How about this? We're just going to apply right here, right now. Live on the show. Paste a link to your primary social account. Okay. I know how to follow directions. So I will get a link to my primary social account. You guys get to see my phone number now. I don't care. And my zip code is easy enough to find. News outlet. Don't have a news outlet I'm affiliated with. Make sure everything's filled out correctly. There we go. I don't even know what I would do with it. If they actually gave it to me, are they going to fund me to fly out to the White House? Okay, I'll do it. Duffess says we'll pay for your travel. All right, if I get it, then we will fundraise for my travel costs to go out to the White House. In seriousness, though, like this is legitimately a big move, and I know I saw Wyman in here says don't promote Ben Shapiro. I mean, I don't want him to promote Ben Shapiro. It'd be better if they don't. But I'm saying I don't even care. Like pick any random number of them, and and then prop them up and give them questions and intentionally block out all of the reporters from The Hill and Politico and CNN and just eliminate all of them. Never call on them. Don't even let them in the room. They can get all the information secondhand. Well, Emmanuel's been a member for 14 months. I think he might have been the very first member of the King Build. That Coke is getting to me. He says, y'all got any more of them exploited illegal immigrants? We'll send them to you. Send Cooper. Yeah. Call yourself Kang Pilled. I definitely get in then. Koenig Pilled. That's right. So here's another one. Talking about this funding freeze. I've got a whole bunch of things on this, but first of all, I had to put several of these stories here all together. So I wanted to get all of the Caroline Leavitt clips because we're now seeing this is her first press secretary gig, first appearance, and so I think she knocked it out of the park. But here they're talking about this funding freeze. We'll get into more details on this, but here's her laying down the law with the shit libs.
with the president's agenda, then the Office of Management and Budget will review those policies. I think this is a very responsible measure. Again, the past 4 years, we've seen the Biden administration spend money like drunken sailors. It's a big reason we've had an inflation crisis in this country, and it's incumbent upon this administration to make sure, again, that every penny is being accounted for honestly.
Why impose this pause with so little notice? Why not give organizations more time to plan for the fact that they are about to lose, in some cases, really crucial federal funding?
That is a good question. Why would you not give them advance notice that something really drastic like this is coming? As Samoa Bob says here, I work at a university, and let me tell you, the sky is falling over here over the federal grant freeze. It's a big deal. Why would you not give them advance notice? I mean, I think the answer is pretty obvious, but there's an implication within that this is not simply an administrative move. This is not simply a pragmatic cost-cutting move. This is an act of war. This is an act of war from the Trump administration toward the NGO network. And so they didn't give them advance notice that they were going to take this sort of dramatic move precisely because they are acting with hostile intent because they recognize these are enemies.
There was for a period of time. There was notice. It was the executive order that the president signed. There's also a freeze on hiring, as you know, a regulatory freeze, and there's also a freeze on foreign aid. And this is, again, incredibly important to ensure that this administration is taking into consideration how hard the American people are working. And their tax dollars actually matter to this administration. You know, just during this pause, DOGE and OMB have actually found that there was $37 million that was about to go out the door to the World Health Organization, which is an organization, as you all know, that President Trump, with the swipe of his pen in that executive order, is no longer wants the United States to be a part of. So that wouldn't be in line with the president's agenda.
So Trump withdrew them. He issued this executive order to withdraw the United States from the World Health Organization, and they were about to send $37 million to the World Health Organization, which obviously would have never come back.
DOGE and OMB also found that there was about to be 50 million taxpayer dollars that went out the door to fund condoms in Gaza. That is a preposterous waste of taxpayer money. So that's what this pause is focused on, being good stewards of tax dollars.
And so this doesn't
Jennifer.
affect Meals on
$50 million for condoms in Gaza. This is like Mad Libs. I swear these people were just like literally just putting words up on a wall and throwing darts at them to create reasons for funding. Gazans will go raw and they will like it. Yeah, we got to repopulate it. This is part of the pro-natalist agenda for the Trump administration. All right, so we're going to do some more talk about this. The federal funding for NGOs and grants and stuff being frozen. But before we get to that, we've got another important announcement. Tom Homan, Hulk Homan, has backup on the way. ICE is set to receive support from allies abroad.
Cyberbully here, checking in with another banger of an announcement from EWBSX. First things first, a lot of news going around about ICE out there rounding up not a small number, I've heard, of goofballs and knuckleheads there in the US of A and sending them back to their respective beautiful home countries. I can only assume it's because these scholars and engineers and future astronauts are needed back at home to make Somalia great again, or Honduras, or wherever. At any rate, I thought, what better time to announce my own little initiative, a brand new task force called Black Ice. They function much in the same way, except Black Ice's target is just as much of a threat, but we're talking about black pillars. Fear not, once Black Ice agents have been deployed, they'll get right to work apprehending the most egregious black pillars and capturing them in crystals so that they can be sent over a different border wall I'm not going to say what kind of wall it is. We know I can't say that. It's the ice wall. They'll get sent to me here in the land of eternal white boy summer to be rehabilitated. And their black pill energy, here's the best part, can be harvested from the crystals and used to power my airship. That's right, a single black pill crystal is as powerful as 420 regular crystals. But how does it all work, cyberbully? Well, don't you worry your little head about the details. All I need from you is to tag the black pillars in your life down in the comments, and Black Ice will handle the rest.
You guys have your marching orders now. The cyberbully needs his crystals. We need to power the airship. He needs help. Are you the cyberbully's best guy? He's asking for you. He needs your help. It's a new world. There's all sorts of new things going on. New opportunities to dedicate yourself to make this a better world. The black pillars are going too. But we don't just have to get rid of them. We can actually monetize them. You could think of it as like, I don't know, digital human biodiesel. We will use the black pillars to power the airship, to get this broadcast from beyond the ice wall to us. So go tag your black pillars at EWBSX Cyberbully. Let's get Black Ice on the job here. All right. NGOs. Come on, share screen. So this is from Mario Knopfel. He's summarizing something from this guy, Peter Bernegger. Bernegger, with an E, Negger, who's an independent journalist, president of Election Watch, Inc. So report, NGOs emerge as shadow government with 55,000 organizations. Fractal technology maps previously hidden connections between 55,000 liberal NGOs, revealing how tax dollars allegedly flow through major institutions like Vanguard and Morgan Stanley to groups like the Chinese Progressive Association. This breakthrough tracking system can now monitor every dollar going to every NGO, exposing intricate funding webs that traditional tech couldn't detect. So here's this video from Mr. Bernegger describing this network of NGOs.
What you are looking at is the central nervous system of how the leftists use NGOs, non-governmental organizations, so that they are able to interfere in elections, to transform American culture, much of which is paid for by the American taxpayer. Now, what you are looking at has never been seen before, because it can't be seen with conventional technology. Every dot you see here is an NGO that is tied to the Chinese Progressive Association. In the next few minutes, we're going to do that analysis. But let's go look at some of these outlying organizations. The Black Voters Matter Fund, $4 million, is funding all of these different organizations you see here. United Ballot, MIA Strategies, Mississippi Legislative Black Fund, Step Up Louisiana Organizing Fund, Abundant Life Ministries, Organizational Support Services. And here's another group, the National Domestic Workers Alliance. And who might they be funding? Well, let's go look. Arriba Las Vegas Workers Center. And here's a small group out here, the Fair Work Center. And who might they be funding? LGBTQ Allyship, Al Noor Islamic Center, Somali Community Services of Seattle, Working Washington. Vote yes for work. So what we have just shown you is 1 year where the Chinese Progressive Association has given money to organizations in the United States, all of which is tax exempt. And those organizations gave the money to a second organization. And what you are seeing here in 1 year from one organization are the thousands of interconnections, every one of which is to a leftist organization. In many cases, these organizations are getting taxpayer money They are being funded by the United States government, and they are involved in activities that are antithetical to what America is trying to do. Well, now let's look at who gives money to the Chinese Progressive Association. So we go here, and here's our answer. The San Francisco Foundation, $750,000. The Sierra Health Foundation, East Bay Community, National Employment Law, Silicon Valley Foundation, which I recall is Mark Zuckerberg's group, Vanguard Charitable Endowment, Morgan Stanley Impact Fund, America Online, Tides Center, Mujeres Unidas, California Justice Fund, Power California Fund, the New Venture Fund, Rockefeller Philanthropy, the Tides Foundation, the American Civil Liberties Union. So you can see that the people connected to the Chinese Progressive Association, in terms of to whom the Chinese Progressive Association gives money, are leftist organizations. But when you look at the groups who give money to the Chinese Progressive Association, some of them are some of America's largest financial institutions. Now, this has all been hidden for years because current technology doesn't have the ability to demonstrate that. But now, with fractal quantum speed technology, we can show you every dollar going to every NGO, every dollar coming out of every NGO. We can show you every director, and if that director works at more than one NGOs, we can show you their telephone numbers, we can show you their addresses, and we can make a determination if any of those are common. And we will be doing that here on this website.
So this NGO network is it's actually something that Glenn Beck has done a lot of good work on it, and I can't remember the name of the NGO. Maybe one of you guys here in the chat can remind me. I don't remember the name of the NGO that he really honed in on. That would be a good search term. But he's got some good videos from a few years back talking about this. So Balaji says, did $3 trillion in federal spending just get indefinitely paused? And this is from this memorandum. Here's the full memo, and I'm going to read it. I'm going to read this full memo because of the significance of this. So this is memorandum for heads of executive departments and agencies from Matthew J. Vaith, acting director of the Office of Management and Budget. Subject, temporary pause of agency grant, loan, and other financial assistance programs. The American people elected Donald J. Trump to be president of the United States and gave him a mandate to increase the impact of every federal taxpayer dollar. In fiscal year 2024, of the nearly $10 trillion that the federal government spent, more than $3 trillion was federal financial assistance, such as grants and loans. So a full 30% of federal expenditures in 2024 went to these grants and loans. Career and political appointees in the executive branch have a duty to align federal spending and action with the will of the American people as expressed through presidential priorities. Financial assistance should be dedicated to advancing administration priorities, focusing taxpayer dollars to advance a stronger and safer America, eliminating the financial burden of inflation for citizens, unleashing American energy and manufacturing, ending wokeness and the weaponization of government, promoting efficiency in government, and making America healthy again. The use of federal resources to advance Marxist equity, transgenderism, and Green New Deal social engineering policies is a waste of taxpayer dollars that does not improve the day-to-day lives of those we serve. This memorandum requires federal agencies to identify and review all federal financial assistance programs and supporting activities consistent with the president's policies and requirements. For example, during the initial days of his administration, President Donald J. Trump issued a series of executive orders to protect the American people and safeguard valuable taxpayer resources, including, and he lists off the orders. These executive orders ensure that federal funds are used to support hardworking American families. To implement these orders, each agency must complete a comprehensive analysis of all of their federal financial assistance programs to identify programs, projects, and activities that may be implicated by any of the president's executive orders. So he issued these executive orders for these different focuses, and now this memorandum is establishing that pursuant to those orders that he existed, all of these activities need to be reviewed and brought into alignment with those executive orders. In the interim, to the extent permissible under applicable law, federal agencies must temporarily pause all activities related to obligation or disbursement of all federal financial assistance and other relevant agency activities that may be implicated by the executive orders, including but not limited to financial assistance for foreign aid, non-governmental organizations or NGOs, DEI, woke gender ideology, and the Green New Deal. Think about everything that's implicated in all of that. Financial assistance for foreign aid, NGOs, DEI, woke gender ideology, and the Green New Deal. This temporary pause will provide the administration time to review agency programs and determine the best uses of the funding for those programs consistent with the law and the president's priorities. The temporary pause will become effective on January 28, 2025 at 5 p.m. So about 2 hours ago. Even before completing their comprehensive analysis, federal agencies must immediately identify any legally mandated actions or deadlines for assistance programs arising while the pause remains in effect. Federal agencies must report this information to OMB along with an analysis of the requirement. OMB also directs federal agencies to pause all activities associated with open NOFOs, such as conducting merit review panels. So everything here is now going to get funneled back through OMB, and OMB is working hand in hand with the DOGE effort. No later than February 10, 2025, agencies shall submit to OMB detailed information on any programs, projects, or activities subject to this pause. Each agency must pause 1. Issuance of new awards, 2. Disbursement of federal funds under all open awards, and 3. Other relevant agency actions that may be implicated by the executive orders to the extent permissible by law until OMB has reviewed and provided guidance to your agency with respect to the information submitted. OMB may grant exceptions, allowing federal agencies to issue new awards or take other actions on a case-by-case basis. To the extent required by law, federal agencies may continue taking certain administrative actions, such as close out of federal awards or recording obligations expressly required by law. Additionally, agencies must, for each federal financial assistance program, 1. Assign responsibility and oversight to a senior political appointee to ensure federal financial assistance conforms to administration priorities. 2. Review currently pending federal financial assistance announcements to ensure administration priorities are addressed, and, subject to program statutory authority, modify unpublished federal financial assistance announcements, withdraw any announcements already published, and, to the extent permissible by law, cancel awards already awarded that are in conflict with administration priorities. And 3. Ensure adequate oversight of federal financial assistance programs and initiate investigations when warranted to identify underperforming recipients and address identified issues up to and including cancellation of awards. So OMB is now invoking the president with the full support of the president and authorizing the leadership that is being put into every one of these agencies to not just perform a comprehensive audit and report back, but also to establish a leadership person whose responsibility going forward is to be constantly on the lookout for ensuring that they're not subversively bringing stuff back up in there again. And note that there is no time delay on this pause. There's a date that was given here, February 10. So the agencies have until February 10 to submit information on any of the programs, projects, or activities subject to the pause. But other than that, this is indefinite. There is no time frame for them to run out the clock and try to obstruct until they get to a certain date. This is an indefinite pause of $3 trillion. Who has been predicting to you this is exactly what's going to happen? Nobody is more vindicated right now than Tom Luongo, because he has been calling this. If anything, the one thing he may have gotten wrong was he was saying a 90-day audit. This isn't a 90-day audit. This is an indefinite audit. In theory, they could never authorize any of these expenditures again. And they've frozen all possibility of new expenditures. No new awards are going to be made. I did not ever imagine that they would be this aggressive and this comprehensive. Now, when they say we're going to cut $2 trillion out of the federal budget, it seems a lot more possible now, doesn't it? So Nate Hochman from America 2100, this little organization that we've connected to Marco Rubio, has a thread on this. And I saw this because Elon retweeted it. He says, this is arguably the single most important aspect of Trump's funding freeze. The immigration crisis isn't an accident. It's a well-oiled system facilitated by powerful NGOs and funded by your tax dollars. By defunding the NGOs, Trump is crippling the entire system. There's an article from Reuters here, U.S. refugee group funding suspended under Trump aid pause. Here's what just happened. Last week, President Trump signed an executive order suspending refugee admissions into the U.S. Then the State Department went a step further. They issued a stop work order to their NGO partners, suspending all funding for refugee resettlement. And it says resettlement agencies received federal funding from the State Department. Those funds are authorized and appropriated by Congress for the purpose of aiding refugee arrivals. The State Department notified partners that all work under those awards must end. Quote, effective immediately upon receipt of this notice of suspension, the recipient must stop all work under the awards and not incur any new costs after the effective date cited above. The recipient must cancel as many outstanding obligations as possible, the memo states. While Trump's executive order and the flight cancellations that followed marked a huge blow to the refugee admissions program, Friday's memo appears to bar agencies from providing funds and services to the refugees already in the United States. So now all of these NGOs are going to get bankrupted. Who can drag this out longer? The newly elected administration? Or these NGOs who are fully funded by State Department grants? See, here's the thing: is there was a judge who stopped this, which gives Trump a great Andrew Jackson moment here. Let her enforce it. I think that they just need to send her to Bukele. Trump isn't setting up penal colonies for no reason. Just send her to Bukele and be done with it. But all they have to do now is just wait him out. Going into a whole bunch of lawfare over this isn't gonna help them. It's gonna drag it out even further. And anybody who tries to circumvent them and tries to facilitate funding to them in the meantime is going to get crushed. And then they're just going to send. It's very, very easy to make a connection here between these NGOs and the cartels, and tie this to the immigration, to the mass deportation efforts. And so anybody who's trying to circumvent the president's executive orders and the dictates from the Secretary of State is now not just acting illegally, they're aiding and abetting terrorist organizations. The NGOs were beside themselves, and for good reason. Very few of these groups are self-sufficient. Most of them are sustained by the federal tax dollar gravy train. The immigration crisis is being financed by your government with your money. Hence their outraged statements. Here's World Relief. Grieves abrupt halt to foreign assistance refugee funding, urges church and community to step up to fill the gaps left by governmental decisions. Interaction statement on stop work order issued by the State Department. HIAS statement on response to stop work orders from the State Department and other federal agencies. Global Refuge condemns federal stop work order halting refugee resettlement assistance. They're freaking out. Nate says, to be clear, these NGOs exist to subvert U.S. immigration law at every step of the process. Actively transporting migrants into the country, fighting enforcement efforts at the border, resettling migrants in American towns and cities, and lobbying for open border policies in D.C. And again, they've been doing it on your dime. For the past 4 years, the Biden State Department has been mainlining taxpayer funds to groups that run an end-to-end mass migration network, beginning deep in South America and finishing with resettlement in American communities. The Biden State Department was actively and openly funding human trafficking organizations. That's what these are. This is a massive human trafficking network that was being openly and intentionally funded by the State Department through NGOs and through churches. Biden admin sends millions to religious nonprofits facilitating mass illegal migration. A CIS examination of one subset of 200 plus NGOs helping a mammoth UN-led immigration assistance project reveals pass-through taxpayer funding of the worst mass migration in U.S. history. That's from the Center for Immigration Studies. They provide humanitarian transportation to ferry immigrants up to our border, waypoints with shelter and medical services along the way, Spanish language maps showing the best route to the U.S., and legal services for immigrants to beat our immigration laws once they get here. This is the definition of treason. This is American citizens, American organizations pursuing an agenda led by an international network to funnel military assets into the United States. This isn't just, like some kind of like corrupt NGOs. This is open human trafficking and the aiding and abetting of an invasion of the country. Oh, and money. They just give them cash cards, vouchers, and often even just stacks of cash in envelopes. Tough to think of a more direct one-to-one redistribution. You pay your taxes, your government sends that money to the NGOs hand it to the immigrants, you work, they benefit. This is the UN has entrusted faith-based establishment NGOs with handling a lot of the $372 million in cash and voucher assistance and multi-purpose cash assistance the broader endeavor will hand out to an estimated 624,000 migrants in transit to the United States during 2024. That money is most often handed out, other UN documents show, as prepaid rechargeable debit cards, but also hard cash-in envelopes, bank transfers, and mobile transfers that the U.S. border-bound travelers can use for whatever they want. Ten of these major immigration NGOs, known as VOLAGs or voluntary agencies, have contracts with the State Department's Bureau of Population, Refugees, and Migration, PRM, which provides them with the funding to resettle migrants in the U.S. These are the 10 VOLAGs in question: Church World Service, Episcopal Migration Ministries, Ethiopian Community Development Council, HIAS, the Global Jewish Nonprofit, International Rescue Committee, Lutheran Immigration and Refugee Service, U.S. Committee for Refugees and Immigrants, United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, World Relief, Bethany Christian Services. Most of these groups are only able to operate because of the federal government. Take the USCCB. In 2023, they received $129.6 million in federal grants for migration services. They spent $130.5 million on migration services. Their immigration activities are almost 100% taxpayer funded. So only $900,000 of their $130.5 million in migration services were not covered by federal grants. Or take the Lutheran Immigration and Refugee Service, which, unlike the USCCB as an overall organization, is exclusively focused on immigration. In fiscal year 2023, 96.65% of their revenue came from federal grants and contracts, to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars. Or take the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society, a group that we made an entire video about last year, see below, talking about Alejandro Mayorkas. Remember, this is a Marco Rubio organization here, this America 2100. Biden DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas served on their board until taking a job in the Biden admin. Surprise, surprise, after he took office, their funding skyrocketed. Mayorkas, how can I say this creatively? For the vast majority of human history, people who did things like what Alejandro Mayorkas has done would find themselves being picked apart by ravens outside the city gates. If you're looking for the villain at the center of the refugee crisis, it's these guys. The refugee NGOs are a fifth column in American politics, and they've essentially been acting as an extension of the federal government, but not anymore. This is a big, big win. You can check out my deep dive thread on mass deportations from earlier this month here. And he says in 1954, 750 Border Patrol agents deported 1.1 million illegals in the space of a few months. And then yesterday's thread on how the online right won. And I've saved these threads for getting into at a later point, but if you want to go read them yourself, then go to the King Pill Substack, or you can listen to the podcast version of this, and the links will be in the description for all the stuff that I go through today, so you can go read those yourself. Shout out to Nate Hotchman for putting together this thread. Oh yes, I have to... I need to get myself a little miniature microphone and just set it down here on my desk and just have it pointed at the bell, so it's directly mic'd up every time I ding it. Interesting. So Kate says, just got word that the Liberal Party is withdrawing from Gustavo Petro's government in Colombia. No one wants to lose their American Gibbs. They have been just backbroken. He's just backbreaking every single one of them. But wait, there's more from Susan Crabtree. Exclusive and breaking. Trump admin cleans house at U.S. International Aid Agency for failing to follow Trump's executive orders. The Trump administration placed a number of USAID officials, the U.S. Agency of International Development, which is just a cutout for the CIA. It says U.S. aid, so people think, oh, it's just like aid for people who are having a hard time. No, this is just a way of funneling dollars into regime change operations around the country or around the globe. The Trump administration placed a number of their officials on administrative leave after suspecting that they are conspiring to circumvent President Trump's executive orders on the halting of federal aid funds to overseas programs and DEI initiatives, according to an agency-wide email attached to this post. Quote from the email. I'm not going to read the whole email here. It is linked if you want it. We've identified several actions within USAID that appear to be designed to circumvent the president's executive orders and the mandate from the American people, Jason Gray, the acting USAID administrator, said in the email. As a result, we've decided to put a number of USAID employees on administrative leave with full pay and benefits until further notice while we complete our analysis of these actions. This pattern is repeating all over the place. They declare a new policy, they establish this new way of doing things, and then they immediately bring behind, or are following along behind with the enforcement mechanism to take out anybody in these agencies who's trying to work against them or trying to subvert. They mean business. She says, I wrote about the corrupt practice at USAID during Trump's first term in office, in which top officials retaliated against Mark Moyar, a Trump appointee designed to ferret out agency waste and abuse, by yanking his security clearance and pushing him out of the agency. Moyar then wrote a book about it, Masters of Corruption, How the Federal Bureaucracy Sabotaged the Trump Presidency. Here's my story from January 2020 on how former Trump admin official Mark Moyar was railroaded out of the USAID after trying to stop waste and abuse. And here's a link to his book chronicling his horrendous railroading at USAID during Trump's first term. And Elon responds with the pew-pews. So once again, you can get the links to these other things if you'd like to go read them. I'm not going to read those on the show here, but Susan Crabtree is well known for her good reporting. So you can get those on the King Pilled Substack. All right, now he's calling it out directly. Here's a clip from our president.
With the help of everyone in this room, we've just won the most epic, consequential political victory in American history, according to a lot. One of the major fake newspapers, so in this case it's not fake news, let's say, but they said it's the most consequential election victory in the last 129 years. I'm trying to figure out what that means, 120. Who was there 129 years ago? But it was a great one. At the presidential level, we won the popular vote for the first time of any Republican in decades. We swept all 7 swing states, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, Georgia, North Carolina, Arizona, and Nevada by very, very big margins, record-setting. And for the first time ever, all 50 states, did you know this, shifted toward the Republican Party. We've never had that before. Nobody has, actually. It's never happened before. That's pretty good. You must be doing a good job, fellas. We won the largest number of African-American voters in Republican history, including 39% of black men, a record by a lot. So that's really nice. Thank you. And we won more Hispanic-American votes than any Republican ever. It's never won any, not even close. Look at that, Hispanic-American. We made
My
historic
Hispanic
strides
American.
with youth, men, women, urban, suburban, and rural voters. And in a political earthquake, yeah, sit down, just enjoy it. What the hell? We're going to be here for a little while. But in a political earthquake, we won a wave of support from labor unions, including massive numbers of auto workers, which gave us Michigan as an example. Think of that. We won Michigan easily, and we did tremendous with the auto workers. And an overwhelming majority of the rank-and-file membership of the Teamsters. The Teamsters were great. They showed up in droves, and we won them by a lot. Together, we're forging a new political majority that's shattering and replacing Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal coalition, which dominated American politics for over 100 years. That's what we're doing.
I wonder if Michael Anton's writing these speeches. We're forging a new political majority that's shattering and replacing Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal coalition. The mission has been stated explicitly now. He's explicitly talking about shattering FDR's legacy. If Tom Luongo has been validated, Mr. Curtis Yarvin's right up there too. And it's not just that. Just before I went live, it was announced, as Orrin McIntyre says, Trump is directly enacting Curtis Yarvin's rage policy. Retire all government employees. Let me open this article over here. From Axios. Scoop, Trump offering buyouts to all federal workers. The White House will issue a memo Tuesday offering to pay federal workers who don't want to return to the office through September 30th, as long as they resign by February 6th. Who told you this was going to happen? Shout out to Curtis Yarvin, Vivek, and Tom Luongo for harping on this, for saying it's going to happen. He's been telling us it's going to happen. It's an acceleration in President Trump's already unprecedented purge of the federal workforce. The Office of Personnel Management described the offer as administrative leave with pay and benefits. A spokeswoman confirmed agencies will receive details later Tuesday. They will also be able to carve out exemptions. Quote, the government-wide email being sent today is to make sure that all federal workers are on board with the new administration's plan to have federal employees in office and adhering to higher standards. We're 5 years past COVID, and just 6% of federal employees work full-time in office. That is unacceptable, a senior administration official tells Axios. The White House expects 5 to 10% of federal employees to accept the offer, which would potentially mean hundreds of thousands of people. The administration projects the buyouts could ultimately save taxpayers up to $100 billion a year. The offer applies to all full-time federal employees except for military personnel, the Postal Service, and those working in immigration enforcement or national security. The memo is just the latest step in the White House's unprecedented move to push career federal workers out of their jobs, and observers say replace them with loyalists. Based. A return to a patronage system that federal law sought to banish more than a century ago. Patronage system! Alert, 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 alert! On Monday, the administration offered more details on its plan to reclassify thousands of federal civil servants, stripping them of legal protections from firing in a memo to agency heads, Schedule F. The executive order and the guidance is a way to make it easier to fire civil servants and turn what had been career jobs into patronage jobs. Based! The moves will almost surely lead many expert, knowledgeable career civil servants to withhold their best advice, Parrott tells Axios. Many federal workers are already feeling scared about the administration's crackdown on DEI, its return to office policy, and the reclassification efforts. That unease could increase take-up on this new offer. I've been seeing all of these Reddit posts that people are screenshotting and posting out there of all the federal employees who are crying. Oh, it's just so bad. I sat in my car and I cried for 30 minutes today. I can't believe they're destroying all of our jobs. I don't get to work from home anymore. I can't sit on my computer and play around the whole time and get paid a full salary and benefits. Ah! All of our rules and norms. Wait, what? I can do zero work until September and get paid everything? Oh, well, never mind. Okay. Where do I sign up? We'd heard that it was going to be 2 years. They're starting off with, 7 months? Which means that if they're starting themselves at 7 months, then they can just start upping it. All right, how about a year? And you can work your way up to 2 years with some of them. The offer could also spur the most talented federal employees with the best private sector prospects to leave, according to Terry Clower, an economist who studies the Capital Region at George Mason University. So how does that work if you're trying to accelerate government efficiency if who you drive away are your best workers? These guys are just not going to make it, man. They're just so dumb. The largest federal employee union, known as AFGE, announced its buyouts. Between the flurry of anti-worker executive orders and policies, it is clear that the Trump administration's goal is to turn the federal government into a toxic environment where workers cannot stay, even if they want to. Based! Unfathomably based! Continuing. Bennett's phylactery. I fully endorse this. He says, I honestly believe the whole clear-pilled Biden voter thing from Yarvin was just an attempt to goad elite right-wingers into action. Oh, sure, these guys could follow this very specific roadmap to restore the nation, but they don't have the balls, so I guess I'm voting Sleepy Joe. If you guys have been listening long enough, you know that I agree entirely with this. I've been telling you, Yarvin's doing a bit. He's been doing a bit. And almost nobody is more validated than he is. Okay, there was another story that I wanted to pull up for this. So let me open this up here. Bring this tab across. And one of the first things that Pete Hegseth has done is pull General Mark Miller's security detail and clearance effective immediately. He may also face demotion in retirement. That should be the absolute least of what he may face. He needs to face court-martial and a one-way trip to Gitmo. Little micro man. And here's what else Pete Hegseth has been up to. He announced 4 new executive orders. Trump announced 4 new executive orders. 1, directing Pete Hegseth to build an Iron Dome system for the U.S. Jason Miranchuk's ears perk up. The Iron Drome, as I've been calling it, because it's going to be an Iron Dome with drones. An Iron Drome. Removing transgender ideology from the U.S. military. Removing critical race theory from the U.S. military. And full reinstatement of military fired because of refusing the COVID vaccine with restoration to their former rank and full back pay. Can I vote for him again? Like, I don't know what I have to, like, what do I have to do to vote for him again? And another one. President Trump has signed an executive order ordering the immediate halting of chemical castration and genital mutilation for minors. Trump, I will declare that any hospital or healthcare provider that participates in the chemical or physical mutilation of minor youth no longer meets federal health and safety standards. They will be terminated from receiving federal funds effective immediately. And no hospital that doesn't meet federal health and safety standards and is not eligible for federal funds can exist. The last 2 weeks has been just unlike anything I ever could have anticipated. I thought that I was optimistic. I thought that I was bullish about everything that this administration was going to do. And I had no clue. I had no clue that they were going to go this hard, this fast. And anybody, like, there's a lot of people like, oh, well, these are just executive orders and you know, yeah, we've got to get legislation to make this stuff You guys don't understand the sheer comprehensiveness of the vibe shift is more than just like a feeling in the air. Every single one of these agencies has been permanently changed by the sheer magnitude of all of the executive orders, the new staffing, the change in organization. They've tapped into the tendency for these sorts of bureaucracies to have an inertia that's inherent to them. It's difficult to move them. The only way you can move them is with an event like this, where you just storm in, massively wrench the entire thing in a new direction, and then let that inertia settle in again. And this is right at the very beginning of the administration. If they want to try to infiltrate and insinuate themselves back in and subvert, they're going to have to do this at some point in the next 4 years under the close watch of the entire administration that just purged everything. That's just waiting for it, has already indicated their desire to absolutely obliterate anyone who tries to subvert or tries to countersignal or tries to disobey orders. So even if some sort of crazy, unforeseen black swan event of all black swan events showed up and everything shifts back to the Democrats in 2028, now they're going to have to fight against an entirely new type of institutional inertia. Do you know how far away 4 years from now is? They've so comprehensively overhauled these agencies this quickly, and it's going to take, like, I don't know, if they have to wait them out, it's going to take them like 3 or 4 months to completely bankrupt them. And what sort of patronage networks are they going to tap into to sustain themselves in the meantime? If they don't have federal funds available to them, they're going to be supported by European countries that are themselves on the cusp of bankruptcy? They're going to be supported by Democratic billionaires. They don't have that much money. We saw the types of sums that are getting thrown around here. Oh, and then they also have to fund all of this lawfare. It's dead. They're not coming back. You got to get on board. The doom fapping. It's a subset of gooning that just melts your brain in the exact same ways. It just turns you off. It sucks away your vril. You will lose your fertility from doom fapping. The black pillars are shriveling their own balls. And black ice is on the way. You guys are going to get turned into crystals and sent over the ice wall to power the airship of the cyberbully. Powerful Mutual John Carter. Let's start with this tweet here from Cremu. Says, ideal immigration policy gives preferences to women. The sex ratio at birth skews male, so creating a balance through letting in more female immigrants is an easy way to stabilize the social fabric, and it encourages assimilation. And John Carter says, U.S. is about to send back tens of millions of criminally inclined young men to their home countries, which is likely to hurt the local economies and scare the local hoes. Would be a very funny Uno reverse card if they followed up with an open borders for hotties policy that strip-mined those countries of their elite sexual capital. Now we're talking. Open borders for hotties. He says the Sexual Attractiveness-Based Immigration and Naturalization Eligibility, or SABIN Act of 2025, introduced a new class of immigrant visa, the Healthy Ovulator. Hoes were selected on the basis of AI-administered personality and attractiveness tests in order to sample the low neuroticism, high attractiveness region of what is colloquially referred to as the crazy hot matrix. Each hoe was permitted to reside and work within the U.S. with no restrictions, tax-free, for a minimum of 1 year. Hoe visas could then be converted upon marriage to any non-birthright natural male citizen to an open-ended Women's Integration for Family and Enrichment, or WIFE visa, revocable immediately in the event of divorce. And Denny Zmean says, this necessitated a hose mad, hysteric overreaction engagement system mitigating active distress act, the Hose Mad Act, in 2030, as BMI-impaired Native females started exhibiting high level of neurotic behavior when the Native males stopped putting up with their shit, as the local parlance went. John Carter continues, the HOSMAD Act mandated the opening of free but mandatory residential weight loss programs, colloquially referred to as the Kennedy Fat Camps. In addition to weight loss, the Kennedy Fat Camps worked with the newly incorporated Center for Healthy Attitudes and Relationship Mastery, or CHARM, which implemented an innovative pedagogical method known as system training for exemplary partners in family-oriented roles and duties, or Stepford. Graduates of the Stepford Charm schools would go on to become the most sought-after romantic partners in the country. And then the world was healed, and peace was upon the earth. This is some of the best posting that I have ever seen. Major props go to Mr. John Carter and Denny's Mean. The HOSMAD Act, Stepford Charm Program. This is just brilliant stuff, man. This is what it's like to live in the land of eternal white boy summer. All right, let me see what you guys are talking about here in the chat. Duffhead says, this is how Handmaid's Tale will play out in reality. Yeah. Yeah, literally just allowing the big booty Latinas. AOC is going to be so mad. My wife heard my alarm. That means it's Tuesday at 7 p.m. and I need to take the trash out. Oh, yeah. Just wait until he goes after the universities. It's very obvious he's going to go after the universities. They're saving that one. Roaring Astro here says he's got to torch he got to torch the woke universities as well, and he is absolutely going to. Robert Privas says, we have elites now. They're working in this admin. Yep. Vorpal Anvil says, correct, this is all unprecedented, and it's the only way for this not to be just another GOP admin. It's why people like me were so skeptical. All the historic precedent was on the side of my cynicism. Yeah, I can understand that. But at some point, the precedent dies. The song I was playing earlier, according to Wyman, set to the 90s, 2000 stuff, is called Missing Out Midnight Remix by The Ivy. Corey Flanagan says, you're killing it, Matt. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. And Ryan Isaac says, you were bullish. No one could have known except for those one person removed from Trump. And we're not that far removed. We've been getting the drips. We've been hearing them. All right, you guys, more marching orders. Eastwood says, oinks in the chat. The little prince is calling for him. Let's get some oinks. Oinks in the chat. And I am going to talk to you guys about the Europors. So, coming back to Eugippius, I'm assuming it's pronounced Eugippius because I've only ever seen it read, never heard one of our anonymous posters. I've never actually heard it said. I'm assuming it's Eugippius. Yeah, there's the oinks. We are an oinking chat in honor of Pig Dirk. So the Cordon Sanitaire is on life support. Mayors bows to pressure, pledges to bring anti-migration legislation to the Bundestag on Friday, and hopes it will pass via AfD support. Now, what does this all mean? This is an article posted by Eugippius. And here's a long post. Explainer post on what is happening in Germany right now, why it is a huge deal, and so on. If you want details and links, please see my Substack pieces. Here I will write simply what is happening. And the Substack pieces will be linked further down in the chat, in the thread here. Number one, German politics are stuck. And this is from a German. Eugippius is a German poster. They've been stuck in the same place for over a decade. This is largely because the populist opposition, or AfD, Alternative for Deutschland, are excluded from power by the so-called Cordon Sanitaire. All the self-appointed Democratic parties, but especially the CDU, agree not to enter any coalitions and not to achieve anything ever with AfD votes. Number two, over time, the AfD has gained strength. They are now the second strongest party in Germany and by far the strongest in East Germany. The cordon sanitaire, originally a tactic to keep voters from defecting from the CDU to the AFD, if you vote for the bad guys, you might as well throw your ballot in the trash, has grown in significance. It now basically props up the entire traditional party system of Germany. All those old parties don't have to change, adopt new policies or anything because the cordon sanitaire keeps the AFD out. They get to do their little aquarium pantomime of democracy among themselves as if the AFD never existed. Number 3, breaching the cordon sanitaire is the biggest taboo in German politics. In 2019, the state CDU in Thüringen elected a minister president from the FDP with AFD votes. That's all they did. They didn't even elect an AFD minister president or anything crazy. They just achieved an outcome with AFD assistance. The CDU lost their minds. Merkel lost her mind. It was a weeks-long scandal. The FDP minister president was forced to resign. That's how serious the cordon sanitaire is. Number 4, the cordon sanitaire splits the right, empowers the left parties, and prevents the CDU from doing anything their voters actually want. Since the knife murders in Aschaffenburg, a huge majority of Germans, 66%, basically want a total stop to irregular migration. Even among left voters, huge numbers want this. Number 5, the CDU has been promising up and down to do something about mass migration, but their promises lack credibility. Because in the Bundestag right now, there is already a simple majority in favor of anti-migration legislation. The CDU simply refused to use it because that majority would require AFD votes, and that would violate the cordon sanitaire. Number 6, Aschaffenburg was the straw that broke the camel's back. The CDU have been stagnating in the polls for months. On Friday, Friedrich Merz, CDU chancellor candidate, said he would introduce anti-migration legislation to the Bundestag and bring it to a vote regardless of who supported it. Just like that, and perhaps without even realizing it, he had violated the taboo of the cordon sanitaire. Number 7, there was blowback. Merz reversed himself, then he reversed his reversal, realizing that once you have violated a taboo, it is pointless to reverse course. Today, he agreed to bring an old piece of legislation to the Bundestag for a vote on Friday. The CDU had proposed this law already in September, but 2 months later they tabled it in fear that it would pass with AFD votes. Now they will bring it again and hope it does pass with AFD votes. Number 8, if all goes well on Friday, AFD votes will be used to pass a new law. Should that happen, it will be an historic event. The cordon sanitaire is not totally gone yet, but there is a relentless logic to what Merz has done that makes it hard to believe it can last much longer. It has become not a taboo, but a negotiable thing, something the CDU can disregard in the right circumstances to overcome Green and SPD recalcitrance and to give their voters what they demand. Number 9, think of what Merz has done like a chain reaction. Each step in this reaction brings new, previously unthinkable possibilities within reach, and it may even make these new possibilities unavoidable. At the end of this chain, the cordon sanitaire might not be the only thing that is gone. It is conceivable that CDU ultimately take a huge hit, losing right-leaning voters to a newly legitimized AFD. This possibility has been feared within CDU ranks for a long time. As the AFD moves onto the political stage, the Green Party would be made largely irrelevant. The entire traditional party system of Germany might be upended. That's why this matters so much. Cue the Ausländer Rausch. And this is why it's been so significant that Elon has been going so hard in favor of AFD. Because it creates exactly this sort of a scenario. It's completely throwing German politics for a loop and totally disrupting all of the entrenched powers. And if Germany gets upended in their internal politics, the EU is not long for this world. We may see the death of the EU during Trump's administration. I'm not going to predict it because that's a big prediction. And there's so many variables that go into it that I can't completely pin all of them down. So I'm not going to outright make that prediction. But I think that it's conceivable that by the end of Trump's second administration, second of 3, by the end of his second administration, the United States will be withdrawn from NATO and the EU will be dead. That's within the possible range of outcomes. Breaking. France is ready to deploy troops to Greenland and oppose the U.S., the French foreign minister. Relations between the U.S. and Europe are falling apart. French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot said that France had discussed with Denmark the possibility of deploying troops to Greenland in response to several threats recently by U.S. President Donald Trump to annex the Danish territory. Quote, if Denmark calls for help, France will be there with other European Union countries who have expressed very strong support for Denmark during a recent meeting of the EU foreign ministers, with several considering also deploying troops to Greenland. The most important thing about this story is, troops, is this part right here. Relations between the U.S. and Europe are falling apart. The French deploying troops to Greenland to support Denmark is not going to prevent the United States from acquiring Greenland. And Trump has already made it very, very clear that they're going to be acquiring Greenland. But what's happening as this sort of thing escalates, taken into the context of everything else, like what's happening in Germany, what's happening with Elon going after Starmer, with obviously the sanction from Trump to do so, we're removing this illusion that the European Union is a political organization with any legitimacy, and that any individual European nation is a peer nation to the United States. They're not. And it should not be taken for granted that, we're just natural allies. No, we're not. We're not natural allies. As long as you're funding these and promoting these multinational organizations that are dedicated toward the bankrupting of the United States, no. We're not foregone allies, and we're not peer nations. The European nations will bend to the will of the United States, or they'll get crushed. That's the new reality. And it's becoming more and more evident, which is a good thing. This is the tough love part of it. Our European brethren need to have their leadership, their nations, publicly humiliated and have their backs broken if they're to be rid of the corrupt pedophiles that run all their countries. Sorry, Europor brothers. This is how it has to be. Eastwood is calling for more oinks. Eastwood demands oinks. He says, please ask Daddy to say oinks in the chat. So once again, boys, we need oinks in the chat. Eastwood has demanded oinks in the chat in honor of Pig Dirk. Oink nationalism. So give the boy his oinks. Continuing with this, the European news here. Italy's Prime Minister Meloni is under investigation for embezzlement. Tom Luongo says, so you think only Trump is persecuted? These people will not stop. They know Meloni has moved out of their orbit with Trump's return. And John Legault says, this related? Breaking, Italy breaks ranks. Will the WHO survive? In a bold and unprecedented move, Italy is reportedly preparing to follow President Trump's lead and withdraw from the World Health Organization. A move that could send shockwaves through the globalist elite. Deputy Prime Minister Matteo Salvini is calling out the corruption, mismanagement, and alarming overreach of the WHO, an organization that has been accused of serving the interests of billionaires and unelected bureaucrats rather than public health. If Italy moves forward, it won't be alone. Nations across the world are watching closely, and this could be the first domino to fall. The globalists are scrambling. What happens when country after country refuses to bow to their dictates? And, here's this, Italy to follow Trump's lead and leave the WHO as domino effect begins. And the WHO falling apart is just a pretext for NATO and the EU and the UN. And Tom says, no wonder they're going after Meloni. She's chosen her side, and it's not the EU. So Trump is freezing relations with the European Union, preferring direct ties with the EU member states, and Meloni, who's obviously been close to Elon because they both have the same patrons, the Pentagon. This has been building for a while, and there was a video. I didn't end up actually playing it in an episode because she's speaking Italian, and I don't think there's a lot of Italian speakers in the chat. But the transcript on it said that she was saying the capital of Europe needs to be Rome. And oh my God, if we get a Make Rome Great Again in Europe campaign going, oh, there's no telling. There's no telling just how back we might be. So Scott Bessent was confirmed as Treasury Secretary. And then today, a man was arrested with Molotov cocktails aimed to kill Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent yesterday at the Capitol, police have said per CNBC. No random dude with Molotov cocktails has any idea who Scott Bessent is. The only reason why somebody would be trying to kill Scott Bessent is because the city of London is terrified. They know what's coming. I said, no way some random crazy dude even knows who he is, much less wants to kill him. He was hired. The city of London is terrified of Scott Bessent. They know what's coming. The merchants of despair are getting defunded. And all of these are all connected. These last few stories that I've gone through here with Europe, these are all part of the same orbit. Europe is scrambling. They're on the back foot. Think about how much of this NGO funding that's gotten frozen, how much of that was going to fund all of these operations for the Crown and the old continental banking families that has now been taken away from them. Right on the cusp of a massive bond crisis. Jason's talked about the insurance market. And all the major reinsurers are in Europe, except for Berkshire Hathaway. The rest of them are all in Europe, and like the top two are in Germany. You've got Lloyd's in London. Things are going to get really, really bad in Europe. They've gotten so far beyond where we are, and now we're on the upward track. It's going to be rough. I'm not going to lie. Like, we're going to have some turmoil here. Things are going to get. Who knows? It could genuinely go any direction, and it's anyone's guess which direction it's going to go because there's so many variables that are all going to get moved at the same time. So you could get a sudden a deflationary crash. You could get an inflationary spike. You get an inflationary spike for this reason or for that reason or for this other reason. There's a lot of money and a lot of stuff getting rearranged all at the same time. It's going to be very tumultuous, and it's going to ripple throughout the economy for a while. But here's the thing. If the spirit is there, if people believe we are entering a golden age, then we are entering a golden age. And it doesn't matter how tumultuous it is. All of that volatility becomes a feature, not a bug. So if you're like some federal employee who's been stuck, like you're getting paid well, you got a good pension, you're building up toward, and you're just kind of stuck there and you have that inertia and you're like, I don't really want to go anywhere. Maybe now you're given that opportunity. I don't know how many federal employees we have listening to the ASTROLABE, but if you're out there, maybe you could take this offer. You can get paid until September to go start some other project. Get yourself 2 incomes for a few months. Or it's given you an on-ramp of 7 or 8 months where you could just get paid while you're building something else. There's going to be so many different opportunities like this for people to capitalize on. You got to be ready to do it. All right, last story that I've got here is one of the dumbest, gayest holdovers of the boomer world that just needs to die. The Doomsday Clock. The Doomsday Clock is now 89 seconds to midnight, the closest ever to global catastrophe. If you've probably grown up hearing about the Doomsday Clock. This is the Doomsday Clock right here. This is all you need to see. It's not like some sort of, a calculation with a bunch of different variables. No, it's nothing like that. It's literally just a bunch of retards who say, let's put it here. It's like LIBOR. Let us make number here. 89 seconds. It was 90 seconds. We've moved 1 second closer. Someone needs to just put these people out of their misery. Give them something to do. Ban the doomsday clock. Ban the doomsday clock as a threat to national security. Because it's just fear-mongering. And I was thinking about this. So I went and looked this up earlier. Doomsday clock. No, not block. Clock. Oh my God, I can't type. Okay. The doomsday clock from Wikipedia. The doomsday clock is a symbol that represents the estimated likelihood of a human-made global catastrophe in the opinion of the members of the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists. Created by J. Robert Oppenheimer, Albert Einstein, and Eugene Rabinowitz, and maintained since 1947, the clock is a metaphor, not a prediction, for threats to humanity from unchecked scientific and technological advances. Like, they're just giving it away right there. We are going to scare the shit out of you to prevent scientific and technological advancement. That is, the time on the clock is not to be interpreted as actual time. A hypothetical global catastrophe is represented by midnight on the clock, with the bulletin's opinion on how close the world is to one represented by a certain number of minutes or seconds to midnight, which is then assessed in January of each year. The main factors influencing the clock are nuclear warfare, climate change, and artificial intelligence. Wow, I wonder why they picked those things. What do those three things have in common that would be worth focusing on? Because the creation of this doomsday clock implies to the mind of the average person, oh well, this is the thing that's calculating how close to doomsday we actually are. And so the inputs for that must be the most important things. Kate, you're ahead of me. This is exactly where I was going with it. This is lining up precisely with what Teal has been talking about. This is the dooming about Armageddon that creates the pretext for the Antichrist. This is Peter Thiel's argument. These kinds of people must not be esteemed. They must be mocked and humiliated and shamed to where they no longer are willing to show their face in public. His original setting in 1947 was 7 minutes to midnight. It is times and forward 18 times. The farthest time from midnight was 17 minutes in 1991, and the nearest is 89 seconds, set in January 2025. On second thought, actually, I say that Trump issues an executive order declaring that the doomsday clock is going to be set to, what was the furthest time? 17 minutes? The doomsday clock is going to be set 12 hours. Let's say 12 hours. We need an executive order. The doomsday clock is going to be moved back to 12 hours from midnight. It is high noon. Maybe 18 hours. Let's say it's the morning. This is a beautiful morning. The morning in America. The sunrise of the American Empire. The American Empire is birthing. And we're going to establish from the federal government that fact. 18 hours. We are 18 hours from midnight. I gotta wonder, like, if there were nuclear warheads that were launched and they were in the air, would the bulletin of the atomic scientists, would they be like running out real quick to hold a press conference to say, hey, midnight, 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 midnight? I hate these people. And the existence of the doomsday clock, here's where we need to redeem the mere existence of the doomsday clock has poisoned the mind of the boomers out of their control and into a world where a doomsday clock exists. The mere notion of that, implying that there is a doomsday coming and we need a clock to calculate that. That's no world for young minds to grow up in. The boomers had this idyllic world where everything worked as they were growing up, but they were also being hunted down by demons. You have to hide under your desk. Because like if we're about to get hit by a nuclear missile, the thing to do is hide under your desk. Like this is all just fear porn. And the doomsday clock is like the thing that typifies all of that. As far as the boomers ever knew, they grew up in a world where the most important and insightful scientists told you that there is a doomsday coming someday and we need to keep track of when that doomsday is going to get here. And so everything you do all throughout the day, everywhere you go, you need in the back of your mind to know that doomsday is coming soon. And we're hoping it's far away. We're estimating it's minutes away. But at any point, someone could do the wrong thing. And doom will come upon us all. These sorts of people have no place in a civilization. They're poisoning the minds of people. Poisoning the minds of the children, the adults. Get out. If you don't get out, we're going to throw you out. In this nation, we don't doom fap. We don't perseverate on the impending eschaton. We build shit. You cannot be apocalyptic and low time preference at the same time. You got to pick one. So are you getting in the corner, sucking your thumb and rocking back and forth all the time? Or are you going to actually exercise the discipline and the patience of low time preference and start building something for your grand? It's not the boomers' fault that they grew up in a world where people were shoving a fucking doomsday clock in. The previous generations didn't have that. They didn't have that insidious little bug in their wiring. The boomers did. The boomers passed it on to us. We inherited it up to this point. But now the doomsday clock dies. I'm making an official proclamation. Clockers, I'm going to find you a picture of our vice president smiling happily saying, we're going to fucking kill you, and I'm going to send that to you. No more doomsday clocking. Cyberbully. And on that note, let me leave you with something wholesome, beautiful. The beauty of this temple. Pray for Romania, man. We're going to need it. I'm grateful to the Lord that we have these sorts of beauty in Romania, because it's going to protect them from what I fear is to come for Eastern Europe. King Pilled not seen the Chud edit of the Chud Jack pointing to the Doomsday Clock. I don't think I have, but I want to kill that Chud Jack pointing. All right, guys. I guess maybe that video sucked. Oh well. Go over to the and get the link for it and watch it yourself. Like button on your way out. We're at 109. We keep landing on 109. Isn't this great? Let's get it to 110. Can we get it to 220? Can we get it to 125? We've got two. Appreciate you guys all showing up for this. The Black Pillars are launching a DOS attack on me. Bring it, Black. You don't know what sort of resources we have at our disposal. Do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe. King Pilled. Go to the King Pilled Substack and subscribe over there so you can get all the links that I went through on the show today. It takes me a lot of time to get them all put in there. It's a lot of work, but I do it. it for the love of the game, for the love of the people, for the love of the Astrolabians. Go join the King Pill Discord, King Best community on the internet. It's the place to be. That's where the live chat conversation will pick back up again, because I recognize they're all King Pill Discord regulars. So if you'd like to be part of the select few, then head on over there, kingpill.com. Join up. 123, you guys. 124. Do we have 125? Are we going to get 125? 126. Man, you guys are the frickin' best. I'll be back tomorrow with another episode. I give
when they took a shot at my hero and they tried to kill the next president of the United States, enough was enough. And I said, let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania rule again.